Michelle, are we ready? All right, thank you. Good evening. Would like to welcome everyone out to our Riverdale City Planning Commission meeting for Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. We have all of our commissioners present with the exception of Commissioner Nolan and Commissioner Herman, who are excused. Next on our agenda, we have time for public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the city to make comments that they would like to address the Planning Commission on. These would be items separate from our agenda tonight. So we'll open that time if there are any. Please, if you'd state your name and residence.
Jason Francis, Riverdale City. My concern is, I wanted to bring it to your attention. I was talking to Brad a little bit. The roundabouts that are here on 700 are being destroyed by semis. I drive a truck for a living, and the semis routes, talking to a couple of the drivers, are being routed through the Riverdale and Parker Drive area to get to Walmart. And if you've looked at the roundabouts here on 700 and up, I think it's at 40th or 44th, at the very top by the bridge, they're dragging their trailers through it, which is now, I think the one on 700 is now hit the manholes that are inside of it, and they're destroying the curbs and the gutters. And I didn't know if there was somehow we could get the council or the proper people to put a no truck route sign, because the trucks are too long and they get stuck in there. I've had them stuck up on my street, which is 3800. They've been stuck up there 20, 30 minutes trying to figure out how to get out of there. I didn't know if that was something we could address or maybe push onto the council or however that may be.
Okay.
The roundabouts?
Yeah. If you look at the roundabouts now, you can see all the rocks have been pushed out of it. The manhole's been hit inside the roundabout. They're driving right up on top of them because they can't get in.
So which roundabouts mainly?
700, if you go 700 from Riverdale, go north,
From Sinclair?
just right down from Sinclair.
4400 and 700.
And then at the top of 4400 and Parker, they're
Those
both,
two?
yeah, they're both being destroyed. And
I know
those are-
that I live on 1150, and
Yeah.
I see, well, we see 2 or 3 semis a day, it seems like, or large trucks,
Yeah,
even
and
on those
I've
roads.
stopped them and talked to them, and they're like, yeah, that's where our routing's been. And I guess it's up to Walmart's routing of how they come in, because they have them coming down Riverdale and turning left on 750 and 700, going out to River Valley to Parker, back in and back down 44th to get to Walmart.
Who's they? Who's
Walmart.
Walmart?
They're saying it's the Walmart directory to get to there. So
Which way should they be going?
Riverdale to make a right-hand turn.
Just
Right,
down
right behind
Riverdale Road.
Walmart. Yeah, they're actually going up and through the neighborhoods.
They're a problem there too. I've noticed on that
Yeah.
Riverdale Road coming down. They're just almost hitting that stop sign
It's
on
not
the
wide
corner
enough.
on the corner of McDonald's there.
Yeah,
That is really tight. Most every time I see a truck, they're driving over the sidewalk, and it's less than you to me from that
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
power pole.
yes,
So I can see why they're trying to find an alternative, possibly
right.
because
But the truck route is down to 700,
Down to that.
down to where Quick Quack is. That is the
Quack
truck
is.
route that
Yeah.
way. Walmart is not the route. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if there's something we can do before we're paying for new roundabouts and the concrete and everything else that we just
The
put in.
roundabout on the south side, right, north-south, that roundabout is larger. If they're going 700, they would hit that one as well.
Yeah, they could hit that one and make
it's
a big-
larger where they could probably
Yeah,
turn.
and I drive a semi for a living, so that one's easy to move.
Yeah.
These ones, even at the parade routes, when we do our parades for Old Glory Days, that's a tight one for all the trucks that are coming in. So you can imagine a fully loaded one coming through there. So I thought I might want to bring that up to somebody's attention. Maybe we can
Well, thank you.
work something out. I can take pictures
That's-
if you'd like. and
That's a
bring it
great
in.
observation, and that's what we hope to get from our citizens, just because if we don't know what's happening, we can't
Right.
fix
We
it.
can't fix it. So
Yeah.
I just thought I'd
If we
bring
were to
that.
go out and I want to go look at it, what would I be looking for that's damaged?
So you look, so as you coming in from 700, as soon as you go into the roundabout, start looking at the tire marks going up the curbs and all the rocks and everything getting pushed up into it. And as you can go around, you can see where they've drugged their tires all the way through the gravel push all the big, 4-inch rock and pushing it up in. So, and I know there's sprinklers in there. And then as you make it all the way around coming out by the daycare, you can see the manhole's been moved. So
Same as the ones up.
the one up there isn't so bad because it's more of a taper. So but you can see where they've driven up across the tops of that. So,
I've seen the tire marks. I didn't realize they were from the semi.
yeah.
Makes
No,
sense.
the buses go that way too. Do they have a problem?
Oh, they're shorter. So they're what are they? 42 foot as a bus.
50, yeah, semi's a 54, isn't it?
They're 54-foot trailer plus another
10
25, 30-foot truck.
So what Commissioner Polson said, I've experienced where they're trying to turn right at McDonald's, and cars have had to actually almost back up
Yeah, they got away,
so
yeah.
they can make the corner, or else everything's bottlenecked right
That's
there.
bottlenecked. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to get around that without a larger no truck route sign or truck route and make the arrow, make the sign the bigger signs that's lit up or like the yellow, or I know they're white and gray now, but I don't know how to get it so we could route them that way and then no truck routes going into the neighborhood. So I know that's going to be an opposition. We're going to have to trying to figure out what to do.
Well, I
I'm
know
not really
UDOT.
sure.
I know UDOT's on Riverdale Road. They usually don't. They, Brandon, correct me. Look at that type of study on a tight turn for a semi truck when they're making these turns for UDOT on any city.
Yeah, as would the roundabout be designed for truck traffic, and you'll notice that there's an apron. So the circumference of the roundabout on the inside, there's a curb. It's called a mountable curb, so it's not the square face. It's at an angle. So it's meant for tires to mount that area, and then there's an apron made of concrete in the event that someone drags their tire. So we have staff meeting tomorrow. Our public works director will be there. We'll bring this up. I'm pretty sure if there's damage to the roundabout landscaping, they're probably aware of it. We'll see what they have to say in terms of the ability to enforce a no truck route. That would be probably the concern that they would bring up, is if we sign it that way, is it really going to change? So I think they would probably not want this to happen just as much as anyone. So we appreciate you bringing it up. Any pictures that you have, if you want to send them to myself or the commission, if you can tonight, that would be helpful for our meeting by 10 tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll stop by on the way because I got to go that way anyway. So I'll stop by and take some.
And we'll talk
pictures.
about it. And if there's anything we can do to protect our infrastructure, that would be good.
Yeah.
Also, sorry,
Since that road is controlled by Riverdale, not UDOT, we can make that a non-truck route, right?
That's right. So the enforcement is the issue. Do we post a police officer there? Are they willing to give tickets based on, some trucker coming in there based on his GPS?
You
And
first have to post a sign or let them know before you can issue them a ticket, right?
yeah,
Well, it's curious though that
It's on GPS.
you're saying that Walmart is giving them the directions,
Yeah.
or that's what you're informed.
That's what I'm informed. Because they do their route. So like with over the road trucks, I know that they get a specific routing of which way they need to be going to get to their location.
Interesting.
So
I had no idea.
Yeah, so you'll get so say you're going from here or say Logan to Walmart here in Riverdale. It'll route you down through Sardine, down 15. You'll get off 31st, come down Parker Drive, go down through the roundabouts, and then 700 because
And I
it's the
figured that
easiest way instead
That
of just
would
getting off Riverdale.
be Google or Apple Maps
Right.
that would be
Yeah.
directing them that way.
Right.
And not
Not the Walmart and the dispatch of said whatever company is, if it's Swift or England or Walmart itself, they go through and also dispatch that same direction.
I would
Brandon,
assume.
I think that also should be extended to the Riverdale UDOT turn, because if Walmart is directing Swift or these big Walmart trucks coming in there, it's not a matter of if, it's when. They're going to take a big power pole out. Cars are backing up to let them go through. The light's green for them to go. It's a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah.
And they need to look at that tight corner, because I bet you 8 out of 10 trucks is going over that sidewalk when a car's trying to turn left on Riverdale, because they can't
They can't make
go
it.
while the cars are sitting there.
Right.
And so maybe in conjunction to the Riverdale site, maybe have UDOT look into that location there on Riverdale as well. If they're directing them both ways on 4400 and down Riverdale, which way's the most practical, safe way for these truckers to come in?
Right.
I think there's two issues, a city control and UDOT's got a concern there too.
And this is a long shot, but it would be nice if we could get a hold of someone in Walmart, because fundamentally Walmart's a logistics company, right? They just happen to sell stuff. So they have a massive logistics infrastructure. And so if we could somehow get to that and ask them to reroute their folks a little differently, that would be the best. Going through residential neighborhoods is not something we want. I would imagine that the roundabouts and River Park Drive was designed knowing that truck traffic would take that route, given the fact that it pokes into the back door of every big box retailer that we have. But if there's a way to get them to that infrastructure a little bit more cleanly, and maybe there's some signage we can help with, we'll figure it out. I don't have the answer, but it's a good observation. Thank you.
Ideally, gonna try and get them to get off on Riverdale Road exit area.
Yeah, they need to be getting off Riverdale, even off coming
That's
southbound.
that's more miles, that's more time in the seat, that's money to the company, and so they're going to find the shortest route based on a map, not real life, right? They don't see the turn pocket issues on
Right.
the Riverdale roadside. They don't see, they're not factoring in maybe some negligent driving on a operator's side where they take that radius too sharp. Who knows?
Yeah.
But we can look into it.
Yeah, because I mean, you even think about Parker Drive going down to the railroad bridge down towards 31st. Those are tight turns, and they're bringing that truck through there.
I see them going up Ritter Drive onto Freeway Park as well.
Yep.
I seen one today going out of Target, a big 56-foot or whatever that semi was, Target, big emblem, going up Ritter Drive. And there's no way in
no way.
heavens that them big boys can turn up on Freeway without taking a total 2 lanes, especially right now with the construction up there.
Yeah.
So it's a concern. It's valid.
He was lost, I bet, because who would route up that hill?
Nobody would route up there.
That's what my wife said, the exact same thing. So I agree.
agree.
There's a concerns, valid concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments.
You bet.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have on our agenda, item C, presentation and reports, community development update. Mr. Cooper, please.
Thank you. The America First project is, you can't really see it. It seems like it's stalled out, but if you drive up the hill and look down carefully without getting distracted,
Then
you'll
they're
see
done.
that they're on their second level,
Yep.
their second tier. So they are making significant progress. The pile driving for that part of the project has been completed, but the driving for the parking structure still is in progress. So you may still
We're
hear.
counting today.
Yep.
So the parking structure, is that a 2 or 3 level?
I
Do you
believe
recall?
it's 3.
Okay.
And that's up on the hill. So they'll be doing that for some time. The roundabout on 1500 has made some progress, although they had a setback where they had to take out some concrete and replace it because the grades were off. So that was another setback, but they're trying to get over that. Mission Barbecue is starting to get their exterior facade complete, so that's coming together. The townhome project has started framing those buildings. They're going very quickly if you've seen that lately. Panera Bread is moving forward, and I'm assuming they'll be close to their projected open date, which was end of July. I would expect maybe that's August, but we'll see. And then the exciting news was the Trader Joe's opened up the storefront, if you've noticed. So the one on the far left is the main entrance, and then the other 2 openings actually will get partially blocked in, and those are just windows. And so that'll be neat to watch.
Great.
Is there any update on the right-of-way for Panera? I think Shake Shack had to give right-of-way, so that road could go all the way through. Did they?
We tried, if you've noticed the site, the wall that was built retains the hillside up against Green Hill Apartments, and then it returns to the west along the property line between Shake Shack and Panera. And that's about a 4-foot to 0-foot wall. We were hoping to get the easement all buttoned up between Shake Shack and Panera before they built that section of the wall so that we could omit that and just build the road the way it should be. That didn't happen. They had to continue with their work. So they put that wall in as per plan. If that easement is ever granted, then that wall will have to be torn out. Most of it is reusable. It can actually be basically shifted to go in line with the existing wall, opening that section up. The good thing is the grades match pretty well, so it's very feasible, but it will be a bit more expensive because there's some rework that needs to be done. We're still working with the Shake Shack property owner to see if that's going to happen.
So it's a right in, right out only at Panera then when it's done. There's no going on to 300 West.
No, you can.
And you just can't go
You just
past
can't go
Panera.
back to,
You just can't
Can't go to
go
Shake
from Shake Shack to 300 West.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there is an easement over Starbucks from Panera. So you can go from Panera through Starbucks all the way to 300.
Okay.
Yeah. You just can't go all the way back behind and then take the light by.
Oh, I
Discount tire.
got you.
Yeah.
Discount.
Yeah.
because I always use 300 because of where I live on Cherry Drive. I don't know if this is something to bring up, and they've put stuff on Riverdale Road so that you can't cross double lines anymore. There's a barrier there
Yeah.
now, which is great. Is that even a thought to going towards the light at 300 and Riverdale Road so that they won't try and cut across into those places where it's a double yellow line? Because there's been a lot of traffic that I've seen almost hammered themselves.
There's a concrete,
Concrete
Yep.
barriers.
So the concrete barrier at the intersection of 300 and Riverdale Road was a requirement of UDOT for that reason. And that was imposed on the Panera site plan approval. So that was built by the Panera contractor. We typically try to avoid medians along Riverdale Road because they can be obstructive to businesses, making your trip longer. And so a lot of times if you see a median and it's in a position that is inconvenient, then you'll pass by that location. So generally speaking, from a business standpoint, we want to reduce the number of medians. UDOT loves them because they are safe. And so it's this
That's what
kind
I'm
of,
saying is the median on 300 West, where if you're going down 300, you can't turn left into Starbucks. I'm
yeah.
talking about that spot because
And
I've
that's
seen
not a
lot of
UDOT road
attention.
that I believe. I think that's a,
300's Riverdale Road.
Yeah, it is.
or the terrace. It's closed right now, and I believe that's the terrace that closed it.
It is?
I'm confused. I'm talking about right across from Starbucks
On 300.
and the taco place where people come down 300 from the terrace.
Uh-huh.
That's Riverdale still, isn't it? Where you junction
It's
into-
right there on the backside, yeah, but the portion that's closed is
turn
the
across
terrace.
those double lines and come across this way to get back into 300 West. And I've seen a lot of close calls.
Yeah. So that wouldn't be a UDOT consideration for a median. That would be either the terrace or Riverdale.
so are you talking like pulling out from 7-Eleven to go
J-Dodge.
up the hill?
Either way, but the key thing is that if you're coming down 300 from the terrace and you're stopped at the light where there's 2 lanes to go, there's a lot of people trying to turn into the taco place and Starbucks from that lane, and there's a lot of people trying to come out of that place into the lane to turn on 300 West to go towards Riverdale Road.
You
Yeah.
put a median there though, they'd have to go through the light, U-turn it, and come back up again to get into any of those businesses.
But it's a double line. It's a double yellow line saying you can't do that. That's illegal to turn across the double yellow line into there. It's already marked that way.
So the left turn out of J-Dogs and Starbucks and all that is a legal left turn.
Yeah, it's a double yellow line. I mean, it's the same. That's an imaginary median, I guess you'd call
Yeah, so they haven't restricted it, and so that's why people make that turn. Is
Yeah.
Could they make Riverdale Road a U-turn and put the barrier in there? So you're on Riverdale Road where you have the open room, you have the barrier,
yeah,
and still flip around on the intersection to go into J-Dog's and Starbucks and in that way? With
Doubtful.
the barrier in place?
people do that now, but I doubt UDOT would make that
Yeah.
on purpose.
That's only a safety thing I've seen is that it's just people are totally confused, trying to come out of there. They're just
Yeah.
frustrated, trying to get back onto 300 West to go to Riverdale
Well,
Road.
that's why I thought if we had the easement, it would at least eliminate some of that traffic because they could go the back route out.
Right.
The left turn out of Starbucks, even with the easement, so let's say you could come all the way from Brands Way, which is Shake Shack, all the way through the backside of all those to 300. Making a left turn there at the wrong time is difficult.
Oh, yeah.
So if it queues up past your position, which it often does, then you either have to sit there and wait for it to clear, or you make a right turn, and before you hit the other median that's up there, flip around.
And that's usually what I do because it's faster to do that than it is to wait for people in
Right.
traffic to clear.
So I can't assume what UDOT knows and doesn't know, but that easement across the backside of all of those businesses was something that UDOT was in favor of. And in the case of Panera, because it wasn't in place, imposed the median on Riverdale Road. And so I assume that because they are in favor of that, they realize that left turn is a challenge. There might be a day where somebody in their wisdom makes that a right in, right out only. But right now it's a legal maneuver to take a left turn despite the fact that that left turn pocket queues up beyond the drive aisle.
The double line is just an imaginary barrier that's saying, don't do that, it's illegal, so.
That was a concern when they said they were gonna build Starbucks there.
Remember that?
That was a major concern that people coming down from the terrace were wanting to go into there, and how are they gonna get into there?
Yeah.
Without major traffic problems.
And the
They
other,
approved it anyway.
Which is like I said, it might evolve into a right in, right out. That would solve that problem.
Yeah, there needs to be a,
But it would create another one.
well, I know they're concerned too, when Panera was being built, that the islands present a possible hazard for emergency vehicles if they have to get over them.
Right.
And that was one of the reasons they said we'd rather do double lines than having a fire truck trying to climb over the barrier and he can't make it. That could be a lot worse situation. So I can understand why they didn't put them in there, but they was also talking about, which is besides the point right now, what Wanda was saying about, making it so you could go on the backside of Shake Shack and you can
Right.
turn right and not double through the double lines. So you can kind of see both sides of it,
Yeah.
But I agree with Alan, it's a hazard. People's jumping across the double lines every day. And
When I came down here, it's busy time when I leave my house to come down here, and it was backed up to where you turn into that house, that odd house by the church. That's how far back up it was to get onto Riverdale Road to come left. And there was a car that pulled out from the top, even the top part of that parking lot from the Starbucks, and they blocked the lane going up, waiting for people to say, oh, we're going to be nice and let you in.
that's another problem too, is letting people in when you shouldn't be letting them in. We all know the rules of the law.
We're all too nice in
I've seen a
Utah.
motorcyclists get laid down on Riverdale Road because everybody says go like this, and here come a car from the inside that didn't see the motorcycle, and he laid his bike down, and everybody was stopping to help him out because there's a lot of congestion on that road that one bad mistake will cause a big problem.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's
just-
something.
An observance that I see all the time. It's always happening.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Next on our agenda, we've got our consent items for consideration for meeting minutes from June 10th, 2025 for our regular meeting and our work session. Commissioners, you've seen some of the amendments that Ms. Maragoni sent out. Do you have any other comments or corrections that we need to address before we approve those?
The corrections I seen need to be made, she's already made them.
Right. Okay, then we would need a motion for approval for those minutes.
I make a motion to approve the consideration of the meeting minutes from June 10th, 2025.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Yes. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Next is our action items. Item E, public hearing to receive and consider public comment regarding proposed amendments to Riverdale Municipal Code 1025-5 regarding site plan review and approval. Mr. Cooper, do you want to go over information on that now, or should we open the meeting and discuss it then?
Why don't I give my comments now, and then you can take public comment after that, if that's okay.
All right,
Great.
please.
Okay, well, thank you very much. As you know, text amendments to the city code is a legislative action, but the city council takes recommendation from the planning commission, especially when it relates to Title 10, the development code. And so tonight's proposal is to, as the chair said, is to Title 10, Chapter 25, Section 5. And this is related to how we receive and review site plans. If you recall, sometime last year in the Planning Commission bylaws, we recommended to you for a change related to the review of preliminary site plans. And so what that effectively did was it created a scenario where the Planning Commission only sees a proposed site plan once. Well, 1025 is catching up to that in these revisions before you today. So if you don't mind, I'll just go through each little section by itself, answer any questions, and explain the changes. So all of this is in your packet, and we'll pull it up on the screen here so that you can see it on your monitor. At the beginning, we're actually striking the name of the code section from preliminary plan required. Again, we've omitted that from our process via the bylaws, and simply stating this as our site plan review and approval section. So that's the first change. Section A, under the submission portion, so everything in black is the original language. So if there's no line through it, then it remains. If there's a line through it, it's being proposed to be removed, and if it's red, it's being added. So each person who proposes to develop land in the city shall prepare, we're removing preliminary from the entire document and just stating simply a site plan. And just for your information, we do have an allowance for a pre-application meeting. So if an applicant wanted to submit a site plan, to avoid the preliminary site plan rhetoric, we offer a pre-application meeting for a potential applicant who, before they pay any fees or before any time clock starts, they can come meet with staff and get information about what their site plan needs to entail and how to go through the process. And we have technical folks there that give them information on utilities and roadways and all of that. So it really takes the position of any preliminary work, so that when we do get a site plan submission, they're already all the way down the road when it comes to having some of that information. So that's why we're comfortable proposing just one site plan review by both staff and the commission. We've reduced the number of copies of the plan. Originally it was 8, and now we're proposing just 3 physical copies and 1 digital copy. That is because some of our reviewers like to have paper copies to review. It's easy to look at a site plan when it's this big versus this big. But we are moving to a digital submission, because digital allows us to have a repository of documents and information on the record that we can keep for a long, long time without piling up in my office. So we've changed the submission from going to the Planning Commission to the Community Development Director. That's consistent with how we do things. You as a body are not receiving anything and processing anything. And so that's a change that I think is consistent with what we do. And then the last sentence there in section A, city staff shall review the submitted materials for compliance and then accept everything. And then it moves to section B for the planning commission's role in the process. So again, we've struck most everything in that section, not entirely. We've actually moved a lot of it down to section C and D, and I'll cover that in just a minute. But so this new language in red in section B reflects what the planning commission is actually doing. You review the site plan for conformance to Title 10 based on staff recommendation and review. And then you either make a favorable recommendation to the council, you do that with modifications, or you deny it, and so, or reject the plan. So that's now a little bit more clear and prescriptive in terms of how things are done. And then, as I mentioned, all the rest of that was struck. It talks about the preliminary plan and how many copies go to who and who's authorized to do things. Some of that I've moved down. In section B, the last sentence, I've addressed amendments to the site plan. That's an occasional occurrence where a final site plan approval was given by the council, and then the developer or owner has made a change either immediately thereafter or sometime later on, and an amendment to the approved site plan needs to take place. So there's just a sentence there that it essentially goes through that same process as an original site plan by receiving a favorable recommendation. Section C now brings in a whole new set of language about what the city council's role is, because that up until now has been convoluted or absent. And so the council's role is now to review the site plan and the recommendation that you all have given, and they then grant either final site plan approval based on your recommendation, final site plan approval with modifications that they feel are prudent, or they deny the site plan, and then that kicks off the process again. That's where the last sentence there, one signed copy shall be given to the owner. That's language that was brought from the original part of section B. So that's been retained, but just in a different section. And then no development of land or construction of buildings or additions shall begin until after a favorable recommendation and a final approval. That was also found in section B, just retained in a different section. The time limit of the final site plan is still 1 year. That's not changing, but it now is specific to the final site plan, not the preliminary site plan, because we've removed that as part of the process, and identifies the final site plan being granted by the city council. And the granting of an extension for a period is still retained by the planning commission. So even though the final site plan approval is given by the council, any extension thereof prior to the year expiration is still the planning commission's role. So that's being retained as well. Section C was changed to D. Section D is now being changed to E, expiration of the final site plan and reapproval of a final site plan. So there's two parts of this. Number one is the expiration. Again, it talks about the 1 year, all vested rights are lost, and if that expiration happens, then a new site plan application with the fees must be submitted and the process starts all over again. And then section 2 is new language related to the reapproval of an expired site plan. So if for some reason the developer or owner exceeds the 1 year period without requesting an extension by the planning commission, then they're required to resubmit the site plan. It comes before you again, and then you're now going to review and approve it. And what this language in section 2 allows for is that you are able to approve it reapprove the site plan based on the ordinances, standards, and regulations in effect at the time of the original site plan approval. So that helps to bring continuity in the event that our ordinances, standards, or guidelines change between the time of the original site plan approval and the reapproval after expiration. There are some conditions, so you're able to do that provided that the owner or developer submits in writing the reasons for the reapproval and any changes. So you still have discretion here. So if they provide to you a written statement that says that the site plan has now changed to be this versus what it was on its original approval, then you have discretion then to apply the current ordinances and or deny the site plan. So there's no formal commitment there. It's still your discretion. So that's condition 1. And condition 2 is provided that the Planning Commission finds that the reapproval under the original ordinances and standards doesn't compromise any public health and safety, nor does it go against the general plan, and remains consistent with all of the other land use objectives that we've talked about. So again, your discretion based on the fact that if the site plan is essentially its original product based on the original date and hasn't changed, even though our ordinances and standards may have changed, you have that discretion to say, we'll approve it based on the original. And then the rest of that language is some get out of jail language, basically stating that you may impose, as well as the council in their final approval, you may oppose any conditions that you otherwise have the purview to impose. That doesn't restrict you from doing that. It also is at your sole discretion and does not create an obligation for you to approve any future site plan application under those same terms. So what that means is that if applicant A came in and said, hey, I would like you to reapprove this based on its original approval, and you say yes, and applicant B came in at a future date and requested the same thing, you're under no obligation to apply that same standard. And then the last sentence there, nothing in this provision prevents the city from requiring compliance with current ordinances and standards for any future submissions. So it really gives you the flexibility to do what's in the best situation for both the city and the developer. In most cases, a developer's success equals our success because we don't develop our city. We just govern it through policy and regulation. We require owners and investment and developers to develop our city in a way that we think is prudent to our quality of life. And so their success is our success, their failure is our failure. In the event of properties that sit vacant for long periods of time and don't go developed, AKA the river bottoms here, that has been under a development agreement for 10 years at least, that failure, I wouldn't call it a failure, but for the lack of a better term, their lack of development has affected us in terms of the amount of revenue that's generated for city services and the quality of life that could otherwise be provided. So it's really meant to tie us together in those terms and allow you all as a body some discretion to make the best decision based on the current circumstances at the time that it is presented to you. There you go.
Okay. Comprehensive. Thank you. All right. At this time, it would be appropriate to open the public hearing. So, commissioners, if there's a motion to be made.
Make a motion to open the public hearing to receive and consider public comment regarding proposed amendments to Riverdale Municipal Code 1025-5 regarding site plan review and approval.
I second.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed? Motion passes. The public hearing is now open. And we are ready to receive public comment, if any at this time. So having acknowledged that no comments are to be received, Commissioners, do you have any discussions for what Mr. Cooper has presented?
I like the changes and I feel like they're consistent with other changes that we've already made. And I really appreciate the addition of that section E2. That gives us some flexibility when things come up that we have seen in the past where we want to make favorable recommendations, but we're now violating current code. It gives us that flexibility as needed based on what we want to do.
And I think that has, with the case of the development of former Leslie's, that hopefully can help motivate that and get that to move along and finally come into
Gives them the
completion on that, so
reuse what they did.
that would be nice.
And I think it will come in handy in the future too. You'll find
Besides, yeah,
that we'll probably rely on this new language if adopted by the council
yep,
more than once in the future.
okay. Any further discussion on the ordinance? Okay, then a motion would be in order to close the public hearing.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed? Our motion carries. So next is on the agenda, consideration to forward a recommendation to City Council regarding proposed tax amendments to Riverdale City Code Title 10, Chapter 25, Section 5, regarding site plan review and approval. Again, Commissioners, any comments?
I think it's pretty straightforward, really. I don't see any concerns from my opinion. I think what you did there to change the wording there made it a lot more, as Councilman Henstra said, a lot more open for the betterment of the city. I don't think you're being as restrictive by the new wording as it was previous. And I think that's a plus for the city.
Yep.
So,
Does the city council, are they aware this is coming forward to them at all? Is this going to be a surprise to them?
I want to say no. At least a couple of the councilors are aware of this. I can't remember if I've brought this up in a public meeting to the whole council, but through our conversations, I've mentioned it.
So they have not been able to read what we are going to approve tonight, or
No, they have not seen this.
okay.
This comes to you first and then goes to them based on your recommendation.
However, because this agenda for our meeting is public record, they could see that. And I'm probably confident that we have one or two that are participating with us tonight. So I won't say that everybody's going to be blindsided, but I think they'll be appropriately prepared.
Then I'd like to make a proposal to forward this to
Motion?
a motion to forward this to the city council. The amendment to the Riverdale City Code, Title 10, Chapter 25, Section 5, as a title as regarding site plan review and approval.
And is that to forward what kind of recommendation?
A positive recommendation.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion.
Second.
Say a motion and a second. All right, Michelle, would you poll the commissioners, please?
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Henstra,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Commissioner Folsom,
yes.
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Bothorpe.
Yes.
All right, the motion passes, and hopefully they will agree with us. All right, next we have comments from Planning Commission and city staff. If there's any additional information that we'd like to have brought up for our meeting tonight.
I appreciate your work, Brandon, from you
Yeah.
and your staff.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah. This was comprehensive, and so I appreciate that.
Appreciate the public comments too. Without that, we probably wouldn't have known until something, that we don't want to hear about happens. So appreciate that coming tonight.
Yeah, I'm curious, and probably will take that path home to see exactly what you've been seeing. I know I've seen the truck tires on some of those roundabouts, and thought somebody in a 4x4 was just lazy, when actually apparently it's these semis.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Motion carries. We're done.
How do you come? When you come here? You come by Ken Garth down at,
I go 44 and 7.
I wasn't gonna bring